Hello guys. So yesterday I was just down visiting someone in Ayrshire and visited Portencross. I wasn't out to do any observations, but I happened to have the P900 with me. It was sitting on a very low battery ready to run out, so I spotted a couple of things, took some quick snapshots and one little piece of video, and I want to share them with you. So basically there were three main things to look at. A quick look on Google Earth, I've got pins showing you the locations we're going to be looking at. So the PC camera pin, that's where I was located at Portencross. And then I was looking over towards the lighthouse on Holy Island, which I've pointed out before in previous videos. That's actually also named Pillar Rock Lighthouse, so that's the Pillar Rock pin you can see down towards the bottom of the screen. And then I've just identified Brodick Harbour as a location, but looking in that direction I could see a boat that was anchored there, and I've had a look to identify what boat it is. So the pin that's just to the north of Brodick Harbour is to roughly identify the location of that boat, which I'll come back to in a minute. So I was looking at the lighthouse, looking at the boat, and also looking at some ferries that were doing the regular route between Ardrossan and Arran. So if I zoom in to the lighthouse on Google Earth, you can see not only its location but the distinctive shape. There's the main body of the lighthouse, and then just to the right is that semicircular wall. You'll be able to see this in other photographs when I get back round to it in a minute. So I'll just have a quick look at the distances involved. So for Holy Island Lighthouse, about 14 miles. And then the distance of the ship, roughly about 11-12 miles. So now that I've got an idea of the position I was in, where I was looking, and the distances involved, I'll show you the stuff that I was looking at. So I'm going to start with the ferries. The ferries heading across to Arran. So I've got a couple of photographs just to show you how the ferries looked out in the water, and then I've also got some images that I applied some contrast to and cropped and stuff like that. So the two boats that are currently working the Ardrossan Arran route is the Caledonian Isles and the Hebridean Isles. This is the Caledonian Isles, just passing in front of Ailsa Craig in the background there. And then this is the Hebridean Isles heading back the other way. To me it seems fairly obvious that the Hebridean Isles is below the horizon, but they aren't quite the same size and shape of boat either, but I think it's still worth looking at. And that's the two of them just in shot, so you can see where they are in relation to each other. So I had been taking some snapshots and then realised they were going to cross paths, so I quickly took pictures of it and then videoed as they crossed. So I'll just play that video for you. It's a bit rough. As I say, I wasn't prepared to do any observations, so just bear with it. Again, I think you can see that the Hebridean Isles is definitely sitting behind the horizon here, and as they cross in front of each other I feel it's, definitely more obvious. Now, unfortunately when I zoomed in it was a bit out of focus. As I say, I wasn't really prepared for it, but you can still get the idea. You can see where the water is sitting with respect to the writing on the boats and stuff like that. So after they'd passed, I did take another photograph of the Hebridean Isles. It's just obviously a little bit closer. You can zoom in on it a bit and see, what's visible essentially, but I'll come back to this with the contrasted images in a minute. So these two photographs also gives us an idea where this horizon line is coming up to on the boat. So in this comparison, what I've done is I've found a picture of the Hebridean Isles that it's in rougher water, just to show that the water doesn't come up that high, because the boat obviously is designed to remain a certain height above the water. and you can judge this for yourselves. I'm just showing you what's there. So if we look again at another comparison, this is one of the pictures that I've cropped and added some contrast to on the left. And then you can see that the horizon line is coming right up underneath this writing. And if we look at that area along the back here, it would be in danger of flooding the rear end of the boat. Now, I know that some people will dispute this stuff. As I say, I'll leave it up to you guys to judge. However, I have an earlier photograph of the Hebridean Isles before it reached this point in the water, when it was leaving Brodick and heading over. So let me show you that to compare. This is the Hebridean Isles heading out from Brodick. You can see Arran in the background there. And this little yacht's a handy little comparison for overall size of what's visible. But we'll look at the contrasted image I've made to make it easier for you guys to see. So here we go, this is the cropped and contrasted image. You can see much clearer, and you can definitely tell that the majority of the boat is missing here when it's further away back towards Brodick. And as I said a minute ago, if you compare the size of this to the size of the ferry, or the part of the ferry that's visible, you can see there's no excuse you can use with regard to angular size. And as always, the reason these images are more significant is because we're not having the problem with refraction at the waterline. And again, if we make a comparison to the other photograph where we can see the entire boat, so this is where the waterline is coming up to on this boat, is away up here, right up just underneath the tip of the bow, covering the entire deck right up to the funnels. So I think we can agree it's definitely been obstructed by the water, and that distance is the factor. So that was the ferries. Now I want to show you the lighthouse on the Holy Island, or Pillar of Rock as it's apparently known. So this wide shot is important for two reasons. It establishes that I'm standing up on the rocks at Portencross looking across at Holy Island. You can see the shape of Holy Island here in front of Arran. And if I zoom in on this one, you can make out the lighthouse here, just to the left. But also, in a moment I'm going to be discussing this boat that was in dock. And this little white splodge here is that boat. It's hard to make out. If I bring the zoom back out a bit, you can make out that there is something white that's kind of prominent here. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So as I say, this is the kind of wide shot just to establish what we're looking at. And then I zoomed in a bit, and then zoomed in again to almost full zoom. Now this isn't the best picture, but again I've got a different picture and I've got contrasted versions, so we'll be able to see it a bit better. So this is a slightly different shot. The lighthouse is a bit clearer, and I've also contrasted it, and then I've cropped and zoomed that one so we can really see it. Now, before I go on to show you comparison shots, you can very clearly see what's visible here. You can see from the top of the lighthouse down to this area that I had already pointed out in the aerial photograph from Google Earth. You could see this semicircular piece that stuck out. That's the little low piece to the left hand side. You can make out the distinctive staggered design of the three windows and the slant of the staircase. And you can even make out a part of the colour. You can see it's white with a little hint of yellow in the brickwork. So now we'll look at some comparison photographs so you can see where the lighthouse is actually situated and how much is missing in this photograph. So in this photograph, which is taken from the opposite side of the lighthouse, you can clearly see that there's a large area of cliff that's missing, that the lighthouse sits on top of. You can also see sticking out that little semicircular area. And on this side, the same design of staggered windows, but it's not the right angle. But just this one gives us a good idea the area that we're seeing up to, which is just up to here on my photograph. Now this is another view much closer in, looking straight on. You can see here the little semicircular wall, the staircases running up to the side, and this just gives us a straight on view to show again how much of the cliff is missing that the lighthouse sits on. It's almost the same height again as the main body of the lighthouse, I would say. Now this photograph is one I was able to find that is taken more to the right hand side, which is the side I'm viewing it from. So you can get a much better comparison to what I've got in my photograph to what can be seen here. You can see the windows, as I've said, you can see the slant of the staircase, and you can see this semicircular wall sticking out to the left. So I'll just compare that to my contrasted image so you've got a better idea what's happening here. Okay, so if we put them side by side, you can really see just how prominent this obstruction is. The horizon, the waterline, is right up to that semicircular wall. All of that cliff is missing down below. It's unmistakable that this is the lighthouse we're looking at. And I've shown you the shots from, the wide shot zooming in. So this is an undeniable obstruction of several metres, the cliffside, happening from about 14 miles away. So now let's talk about this boat that is docked over near Brodick. So in this photograph, slightly wider photograph, you can see parts of the town in the background as well. And this is obviously the bridge of the boat here. And then a more zoomed in one. Again, very clear that we're looking at the bridge of quite a big boat. So obviously I've looked up the boat that was in dock. You can see there it's the Bro developer. So then I clicked into the Brodick Bay section, and that actually shows that one boat is in port. And then I've clicked onto the actual boat itself to get the details. And this is me just looking at the vessel details on the site. You can see there it says current port, Brodick Bay, Bro developer, large tanker ship. So that gave me the information I needed to go and look up a little bit more about it. Now you can see here that I googled the height because dimensions wasn't giving me the result I needed, and you can see the overall dimensions of the vessel listed here. So obviously I looked up some photographs of the boat so we can get a better idea what it should look like. And you can see it's a pretty big ship. It's got a pretty tall bridge. It's a big, lengthy tanker. And I've looked up several photographs. I like this one because it actually gives you a good idea of the scale of the thing compared to other things. You've got the warehouses in the background and then the boats in the foreground. So this is a good idea just how big this boat is. And then this view is the one that's going to matter. This is the one that's actually closer to the view that we've got from my point of view looking over at it docked at Brodick. So we'll have a look at my contrasted and cropped photographs and compare it to these. So what I've done is I've taken the two photographs that I showed earlier and I've got the original and then a cropped version contrasted. So this is the slightly wider shot and then a cropped version of that. And then this is the closer in shot and again a cropped version. Now we can definitely see some detail here, and you will be able to see in a second that there's no doubt that this is definitely the Bro developer when we compare these two photographs. Now that we've got the two of them side by side, you can absolutely see this is the same boat. You can see the funnel with the white middle section and the logo on it. You can see the various fitments around the bridge. You can see the actual shape, the number of windows, the staircases leading down, and one of the more prominent and easy things to identify is this lifeboat on the launch rack here. So there's absolutely no doubt this is definitely the Bro developer docked in Brodick. Basically you can see that the entire bottom half of this boat is completely gone underneath the waterline. It's behind the horizon, and it's nothing to do with atmospheric effects. Now this is I've just moved the photograph and roughly lined it up to give an idea of what we're talking about here. You can see where the waterline runs across this area of the boat. So this gives you an idea again just how much it is missing. So that was a bonus to my trip yesterday. I wasn't going out to take observations, as I said, but that's the lighthouse, the ferries and this docked boat all showing signs of being below the horizon. Cheers guys.